It is Tuesday. RawMikeRichards.com broadcasting live from the DKI studios in downtown Toronto on a wintry, blustery morning where apparently people in this country have never seen snow before. What? I've never understood. The other day it was rain and it was like 12 degrees and people are like, ooh.
Oh, I know.
It's the country you live in. Like, figure it out. That was almost 3 hours today to get in. Unbelievable. So the fuse a little short.
I was going to say less
this morning. Oh.
I mean, this is the time of year to lose it on somebody. I almost lost it this morning on, I'll just say a member of Marissa's educational staff. Because we were late by 1 minute for school today, Mike. So
60 seconds is like you should get an award for 60 seconds late.
Yeah, exactly.
Why did you get attitude?
Oh, yeah. Some of the stuff I cannot say on the air right now. And I backed away because I thought, well, she's going to be there for the next 5 years. I better be careful what I say because I'm going to be up against that for the next half decade.
That is brutal.
It's honestly. And then I leave the school, and there's a lineup in front of the office, and you know how these things work. 65 kids were late, and Marissa was number 3. And her actual class is the door from the principal's office, and the kids were still in the hallway, taking off their snowsuits and their boots, but no, 1 minute late. So I know exactly what you're saying, but in a different way.
I felt myself going. It was after the horrible drive in, and then you get close to the city, and then there was a bunch of snowplows. So in an urban center, you can imagine, and because it's just slush. I mean,
yes.
Look, we lived in Western Canada.
Bingo.
I know what deep snow looks like. I know what difficulty is, and so now you have like just a smattering, this little snow cone of slush on the road, and you got 3 of these massive plows, each staggered.
Yes.
So
yes,
you can't get blocking the whole thing.
Exactly.
And so Buddy wants to sneak in on the inside and then cut in front of me. And Dave, I've had one incident of actual road rage getting out, and maybe I should not tell this story. It's not a good story. And it was going to happen again. I could feel it.
Yeah.
I think it was after 2.5 hours, and then he just darted in and no. See, here's the thing. If it is a bad day, traffic conditions are bad, and someone is going to have real difficult time getting in, when you allow them to come in, you give them the wave.
Yes.
Yeah, they get the wave, and so this is a gift, and you are allowing them to come in, and then no wave.
And you know what?
You don't get the wave.
Not to harp on it, but it happens more here than anywhere else I've lived.
100%.
And I hate it. And it just like, and sometimes it just,
I wave all the time. By the way, I am a waver.
Completely.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's so minor to sit there. You don't even have to look at the person. You're driving, you give one of these.
Hand up. Even, sometimes I'll do the driver's side as I'm coming in.
Yes.
And then I'll give maybe a double.
Yes.
The double. And then this way, whatever, however it is.
Honestly.
When I get the nothing,
I want to get out of my car, put it in park, run up to the guy and smash on his window. That's what I want to do.
Oh, you're being nice. I have other things that go through my head, but then immediately I turn into Seinfeld, and I'm like, "What are you doing? Get the wave! Get the wave! You gotta get the wave! The wave!
It's so underrated.
Get the wave!
It's so underrated too. You could be pissed about something, and somebody could cut in front of you and do this. And it's like, oh, okay.
Oh yeah, there's sometimes when
it's funny though because you're still pissed, but then it's like he does this or she does this, and it's like, well, okay, fine.
Because I'm slowly, when I see no wave, I'm reaching to the back for the gloves. Okay. And then the needle, the Dexter needle,
oh, yes.
As they come up, I go, excuse me, I just noticed you have a...
Yeah.
Next thing you know, they wake up.
Pictures of themselves on the wall.
Next time, asshole, you might want to wave. This is going to end very badly for you, right? Oh, my. That's right, George Takei.
Oh, man. George knows it.
Kill room. My God, that turns me on. Okay, so I think now we got to call...
Clark Judge.
Let's talk a little NFL football. Let's see. Oh, this thing better work today.
The Dolphins woke up yesterday.
You better pray that Skype.
Oh yeah.
Because this whose ever computer this is, it's gone.
Yeah, I was gonna say
it's purely
even,
gone.
Not even yours.
And speaking of anger, I'm watching last night,
Oof.
and I'm Tom Brady, and they did what they always do. They do that. So angry with them too.
Morning.
Oh, this sounds like the fantastic Clark Judge, unless I'm mistaken.
It's Clark Judge, but there's nothing fantastic.
No, come on.
Oh.
Don't be like that.
Oh, look, I just spent the first 10 minutes complaining about people who don't know how to drive in snow. And guess what, Clark? We live in Canada.
Yeah,
You would.
It happens. We got snowy down here in New York, but nothing fantastic about being a Habs fan these days, guys.
Oh, and you segued that into a Canadian sad story. Wow, that is the fantastic Clark Judge. I got to tell you.
Yeah.
And for Dave Bastel, who had a prop bet of how many wins for the
11.5
for the Patriots, and if we want to have real anger, then maybe we should talk to Dave Bastel about that game, because apparently Tom Brady. What does he frown upon winning in South Florida? What is the ailment there, Clark? Because that was just, and all of a sudden, Cutler looked like he was playing for Vanderbilt again.
Yeah, he did. I haven't seen Jay Cutler look that good in years, to be honest with you. He's got a world of ability, always had. But that's not what's kept him down. And what's kept him down is Jay Cutler has kept him down. But that's a whole other story. Brady, from the very beginning, looked off. I mean, that first pass was underthrown, intercepted.
Yep.
There was another pass he threw an out that was underthrown. It was about a 7-yard out, underthrown. I went, whoa, what's going on with him? First quarter, he just looked off. The whole team looked off.
Yeah.
They didn't look like they were ready to play. And yeah, he's got two places where he struggles. That's one of them. The other place is Denver, of course. But Denver had Peyton Manning at the end of his career. It's also got the altitude. Miami hasn't been good for a long time, and yet for whatever reason, he and that team do struggle down there. And I'm not sure why, because this was a very winnable game. In fact, I think they were an 11-point favorite going into it. Mm-hmm. I thought they'd lap the field because they beat these guys easily last time. But, of course, Matt Moore is the quarterback then. But Brady was off. Team was off. I know what happens. Not supposed to happen in December for these guys. And for the first time, for the first time this season, Tom Brady looked 40. I mean, he looked like an old quarterback who was struggling. He missed some open passes, and he was underthrowing some. And then that deep ball to Chris Hogan, I thought, if that had been someone else, someone with some jets, that would have been caught. But that's the way it goes. Did he miss Gronk? Yeah, but Gronk wasn't the difference there. They all had off days, and as I said, that's not like them. But we'll see what happens in Pittsburgh. I like their chances. They never lay an egg 2 games in a row. He doesn't. And so I like their chances. They are a good team on the road, except when the road includes Denver and Miami.
I felt that Bill Belichick was very giving in that post-game press conference. He was very open. And then the one person asked about a look-ahead game. And all the years that you've covered NFL football, because, of course, in the gaming world, that is my degenerate world, it's always, the look-pass game. In your opinion, does that actually happen? And if it does that have anything to do with last night at all?
I don't think it really happens, no. I mean, I had somebody tell me one time, as a player who was a very good player, I'd written something before the game about what was coming up, basically saying this team should be able to win this game blindfolded. And the coach went berserk and really sort of froze me out that week. And the player pulled me aside and said, do you actually think we think about those things when we're on the field? We don't. All we think about is what is ahead of us. I think about the guy on the other side of the line of scrimmage. I want to beat him. It's a competitive edge. I'm not thinking the next week. I'm not thinking about what you wrote. I'm not thinking about anything aside from beating that guy. So don't beat yourself up, or let this guy beat yourself up, because it doesn't happen. I mean, they can use that for our advantage to try to get us going, but all that gets me going is the guy on the other side of the line of scrimmage. And I think that's true. I mean, the Patriots don't do that. If so, they'd be looking past everyone. I mean, they're a better team than almost everyone out there. And I do think, honestly, they're a better team than Pittsburgh. I know the record doesn't say it. Certainly last night doesn't say it. But I think they'll demonstrate that on Sunday. As I said, this happens. I covered the 49ers when Steve Young was benched. He was benched in 1994. They won the Super Bowl that year. So those things happen. Guys can't always be on. And it's so difficult for us to try to fathom how the Patriots could look that bad against a team that's not very good, how Tom Brady could look that bad, because they've upped the bar so high. they're a victim of their own success. We expect them to roll people every time they go out there, and sometimes it doesn't happen. Last night was one of those times.
Clark, let's look ahead because as media people, we are allowed to look ahead. So the Patriots, the Patriots have the Steelers in Pittsburgh, home to the Bills, home to the Jets. For my bet, needing 2 wins, are the Patriots going to win 2 of these games coming up against those 3 opponents?
See, now I could tell you, give me a break. Any questions about the game? But are they? Yeah, I think that the Patriots will win those. I think they'll win out. Honestly, I think they'll win out.
Yeah.
I know that's a big game for Buffalo, but 2 things. One, it's not the last game of the season. It's Christmas Eve, but then no early Christmas presents, and especially after a game like last night. I mean, he'll punish them. Belichick will punish them this week in practice, and they'll punish themselves. I mean, I think you saw how angry Brady was at the end of that game. They'll punish themselves, and I think they already are doing that. But the Buffalo, you go, well, geez, could the Bills sneak in? Yeah, they could. Brady's 27-3 against them, so that doesn't really happen. They'll win those games because they're better than those teams. And the Pittsburgh games, that's the one that's interesting because you're playing for home field advantage. And part of me last night said, listen, because I'll be honest with you guys, I'm biased. I love watching the Patriots play. I like people who play very well, do very good things at their profession, and are really good at what they do and enjoy it. That's why I love watching Tom Brady. And that was tough to watch last night. But in the back of my head, I'm thinking, does this game really mean anything? And I'm not trying to alibi or excuse for them. There's no excuse for the way they played. But the game, the home field advantage basically is going to be decided in Pittsburgh. If they beat them, they're going to win the head-to-head. So it's, you go, if they finish with the same record, let's say the 2 of them finish 13-3. Let's just say that. They win on head-to-head, so they get home field. Do they need it? No, not to me as much as Pittsburgh does. The Patriots can win anywhere. But that's why I looked at that game last night. They're missing a lot of players. Again, it's not an excuse for the way they played, but they just were off. I mean, just were really off. And as I said, it happens, but it doesn't happen to these guys in December. That's why it's got our attention.
We're in conversation with Clark Judge from Talk of Fame Network here on rawmickrichards.com, brought to you by DKI. Looking at the quarterback situation, and again, all the things that happened this past week, including for Carson Wentz, and I got to say, just as a purely as a fan, as just a fan, it was heartbreaking. It was such a great story. I love watching this young man. I think anyone who plays, and rarely do you put the term probably warrior on a quarterback, but I really think he plays that way. Now, is it the end of the world? It's not the end of the world, but it's just, I think probably, Knowles can probably come in and do a competent job, but I think it's just the storyline of how great that was, what he accomplished. I was just sort of heartbroken for a young guy that's just got to be devastating for him. Regardless of what the impact is on the rest of the season, the story for me is the season is over.
Yeah, it's a story for me, too. I mean, I think it was devastating for him and for that team, and especially for Philadelphia fans. I think in the back of their heads, they know that. I mean, Nick Foles took you to the playoffs before. That was 4 years ago. And there's a lot of water under the bridge since then. He comes back, and you say, well, he took us to the playoffs. Well, A, that was 4 years ago. B, he didn't win a playoff game. And C, he's the backup. As the backup, he can't be as good as the starter. The starter's an MVP candidate. He's the backup. He's been on the bench. Now, is this Jeff Hostetler waiting to happen in 1990? I don't think so. And Phil Simms broke his foot, I think it was, in the 15th game of that season. Hostetler came in, and he didn't lose. But you don't have LT and the Giants' defense on the other side. Their defense is pretty good. The Eagles' defense is pretty good. But the Rams poked a lot of holes in it. And in all fairness, Nick Foles didn't win that game last week, although he played competently. It was the strip sack of Jared Goff, that led to the game-winning field goal. So Philadelphia's a good team. They were the best team before that happened. They're no longer there. The rest of the pack now, to me, has joined them. The NFC is up for grabs. I wouldn't make them a favorite. At this point, I'd make them a long shot, just for that one injury. And I think the stat that jumps to mind is I think it was at third down passing or something. Wentz has 23 touchdowns, no interceptions. Wow. I mean, that's what you want. And going back to the Patriots last night, that's what you don't see from Brady. 0 for 11 and third downs. Whoa. I mean, that's not like him or the Patriots. But the fact of the matter is he can make that much of a difference, and that's what Tom Brady does and Peyton Manning does. The quarterback can make that much of a difference. Nick Foles is going to struggle, to me, to get them deep into the playoffs. And so I look at Minnesota, Carolina, the Rams, the Saints. who's going to get it? And I'll tell you what, if the Minnesota or the Saints get home field advantage, and especially Minnesota, I look at them and say, those are the teams I want, because dome teams on the playing side are very good in conference championship games. And keep in mind with the Saints, they've got a quarterback who's been to the Super Bowl and won a Super Bowl. That's the difference between them and Minnesota. However, Minnesota's got a defense that's far superior than New Orleans, even though New Orleans' defense is better. And I think the team we're probably neglecting and may need to spend a little more time talking about is Carolina. They're sneaking up on everybody, and they also have a quarterback who's been to the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
didn't win it, but he's been there.
And wants to make good on that, too. We're in conversation with Clark Judge, Talk of Fame Network, joining us. So the Chargers win, the Chiefs win, and now the two of them meet this weekend in Kansas City. I think I know who you want to win that game because I'm on board as well, but who's going to win that game?
I don't really want either to win, but I did cover the Chargers for 10 years. But I'll be honest with you. I mean, it broke my heart when they left San Diego.
Yeah,
it really did. And I listen. I covered the Colts when they left Baltimore. I wasn't covering the Chargers when they left San Diego, but I went back there for the last mini camp, and it was tough to see. And I know it ripped the soul out of that city. I mean, it was tough. But anyway, I think the Chargers are the better team. I think the Chargers have momentum. I think the Chargers are a team nobody wants in the playoffs. They don't, because they're playing well. They've got defense. They can run the ball. They've got playmakers galore on the outside. Keenan Allen, God, the last month he's been on fire.
Yep.
But they've got a quarterback who's really, really good. And I guess in the back of my head and probably in the bottom of my heart, that's why I would, if you put a gun to my head, say, yeah, I'd like the Chargers win. It's for Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers we've talked about this. I love the guy. I love watching him. I love being around him. Great interview, great guy, on or off the field. And you'd want to see him get to the next level. I talked to him a couple years ago, and I said, you know the difference between elite quarterbacks? Honestly, I mean, sometimes the difference between elite quarterbacks is getting to that big game and then winning it. And so when they talk about you, the Hall of Fame, I said, Phil, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I don't think you're going to be in that conversation until or unless you get to the point where you can get to a Super Bowl and win it. And he said, I agree. That's sort of the defining moment. And I said, it shouldn't be that way. Obviously, there are guys in there who didn't go to Super Bowl. Dan Fouts is one, and Warren Moon's another one. But and there are guys who didn't win them. You know, Dan Marino's another one. He went to one, he didn't win it. But Rivers would have to sort of draw attention to himself, and he could do that now. The window's closing, but he's playing well, and more people need to see how good a player this guy is. He hasn't made a turnover or an interception in the last 4 weeks. He's getting protected. They said he's protected by the offensive line, the run game, and the defense. Those are things he hasn't had before. I'd like to see him get there. If they didn't, it may be for the right reasons. Kansas City is a very good team. Alex Smith's another guy it's easy to root for. But San Diego, the Chargers have the momentum right now, and I do think they're one of the best teams in the AFC. And if they don't get in, it'd be a travesty because they could cause a lot of trouble.
Now, you know, again, it's sort of quarterback-centric, but I think at this time of year there's a reason for that. And so if you're a Green Bay fan, you know, there's a part of you that probably really thinks that you want to see Aaron Rodgers, but as an organization, you know, considering they have to play the Panthers, is it worth the risk, and are we going to see the possibility of a return? And it could possibly be a one and done, I guess, if you figure you can get in, but what's the reality of Aaron Rodgers really playing?
Oh, I think there's a good chance. I mean, I've heard reports that he looks great in practice. He wants to come back. I saw him throwing before the game last week. Of course, that's just throwing the ball around. But I think he does play. Mm-hmm. I think he does play. And I think if there's any chance of them making the playoffs, he does play, and for the right reasons. They want to get to the Super Bowl. They're not getting there with Brett Hundley. They could get there with Aaron Rodgers. But still, let's just say they were on the table, and they could. He's done that before. It'd be very tough for them. I mean, the NFC is so top-heavy. It'd be very tough to crack that upper echelon. But I do think he does play. He's such a difference maker. I thought at one point this season, when he comes back, there's no point in him returning because they'll be out of it. Well, Brett Hundley saved the season for him last week. That was a remarkable effort. And I don't care whether it's against Cleveland Browns or not. It's a remarkable effort. So they've got a chance. He'd come back for the right reasons. And I wanted to say one other thing, guys, just before I forget it. I'm talking about the Chargers, you know, earlier. I'll tell you another reason I want to see them win that division. I want to see them have to host a playoff game in the StubHub Center where they can't fill a 25,000-seat arena and the city doesn't care about them, because that's what Dean Spanos deserves. And that's obviously a hostile San Diego fan. That's somebody that's why I said I'm heartbroken about them leaving. And that's a lot of San Diego people feel the same way. Let's see them host a game there because that's what they and the NFL, honestly, sort of the NFL deserves for putting them in there for 3 years, for goodness sakes. And you're going to move up there and, so anyway. But, I do think Aaron Rodgers comes back this week and plays.
Yeah, and we look forward to that. When we're talking about, I guess, some of those, because it's basically when you look at the AFC South between Tennessee and Jacksonville, Jacksonville now has that 1-game lead. Have the Titans just blew their biggest opportunity this past weekend with the loss, and they're basically out of this?
Not yet. I mean, they could still get in there, but listen, the difference between the two teams is remarkable.
Yeah.
I think Jacksonville's a much better team than the Titans, and Mariota has not been playing well at all this year. And I thought he looked really bad last week. And if they don't get in, and I don't think they should get in for the right reasons. It's just not good enough. I mean, who would you trust more, Tennessee or the Chargers at this point? And the Chargers may not get in. As I said, if they lose this weekend, they're probably out. In fact, I'd say they are out. But the Tennessee's just sort of flopping all over itself, and something really remarkable about that. I mean, they want to build it around the running game, but DeMarco Murray's not playing that well. He's not running that well. Henry's running well, but Mariota's more effective running the ball than he is throwing. And you look at this third season with Winston Mariota, you go, whoa, I mean, shouldn't we have been getting a lot more from those two than this? And the answer is yes. So I just feel like he's hit a wall here, and he said, I know after that game last week, I need to be better. He does. He needs to be a lot better. When we talk about the teams that are clubs that we're looking at as Super Bowl possibilities or teams that are conference heavyweights, we're talking about teams with good quarterbacks or really good quarterbacks. Brady, Roethlisberger. We're just talking about Aaron Rodgers, Phillip Rivers, Drew Brees. And so you look at Tennessee, you go, I don't know. And then your listeners say, well, what about Blake Bortles? Well, I feel the same way. I mean, Blake Bortles, I wouldn't trust him. I don't trust him at all. That's why I don't think Jacksonville's going deep. But they've got a defense that can overcome some of those things. We saw what happened in Peyton Manning's last year. Really good defense that overcame the blemishes of an aging quarterback. That could happen here, except Manning gives you the intangibles that Blake Bortles doesn't. Manning had been there before. He knows how to will a team into the Super Bowl, into the playoffs. He knows what to do and how to make the right calls and how to discern what's going on in front of you when teams are trying to confuse you. Blake Bortles doesn't. He makes a ton of mistakes. So that's a big difference. But in my mind, there's no difference here. Jacksonville, no question what happens to Jacksonville and Tennessee. Jacksonville makes it. Tennessee probably doesn't and probably should not.
Now, in Cincinnati, does Marvin Lewis, I mean, he's been close to that ownership, and they've backed him in some really difficult times. But what happens there? Because I just think that whole cycle, I mean, something has to be done because he's gone.
He's gone. I mean, and it's not like they're firing him. No, I mean, this is the last year of his contract. They haven't extended it. They've done that before. But I think he and the club both realize he's been there for 14, 15 years. That's a long time. Yeah. Many people have said, and I had Bill Walsh some years ago, you shouldn't stay anywhere longer than 10 years. And one said that to Andy Reid, and he was in his 12th year then. And he goes, well, I'll know when the time is right. Well, it wasn't too much later that he had to leave, because what happens is either players tune you out or you kind of lose your enthusiasm. Something happens where you lose your edge, and you probably do need to change the scenery. And Marvin's a good coach. He's taken that team to the playoffs. I mean, he's done what his predecessors really hadn't, was taken into the playoffs again and again and again. Sam Weiss was very successful there. But since Sam left, nothing really happened. So Marvin get him to the playoffs, but then what? 0-7 in the playoffs. And I think he looks at it, and they look at it and say, we need to get better. A lot of levels. Talent, coaching, a lot of levels, administration. And so he'll leave, and I do think he'll probably end up in broadcasting. He's very glib. He's very articulate, smart guy. I think he'll probably end up there. He could be a defense coordinator anywhere. He could probably be a head coach anywhere. But I think that's probably at this stage of the game what he would like to do, take a step back. He's gone through a lot there, guys. I mean, there's been a lot that's happened over the years in Cincinnati, and I know you know it as well as I do. Tragedies, off-the-field situations, suspensions, things like that. And he's dealt with it very well. I've got a lot of respect for Marvin Lewis and what he's done there. But I think he just walks away. They just simply say, Marvin, how do you want to do this? He goes, I'm just going to say I really don't want to coach anymore. And I think that's what happens. They get a new coach.
Got to ask, Giancarlo Stanton, I mean, this has to be, was that big in the household?
Yeah, it was. My brother-in-law wrote me, and he wrote an email, Stanton and Judge. Wow. And I went, Stanton? Who's he talking about? I mean, I said to my wife, I mean, wasn't Stanton like the Secretary of State or Secretary of Defense under Lincoln? I mean, it was fun. I had no idea what you're talking about. And I looked and I went, oh my God, you're getting Stanton. Now, I'm from a minority point of view in that I'm old school baseball, so I looked down and went, I don't like the addition of so many sort of big hitters. I like the small ball. I like guys who run, singles, doubles. I don't like guys who strike out a lot, which means, my sometimes nephew, sometimes not, Aaron Judge. When he's hitting, he's my nephew. When he's not, I don't know who he is. But baseball is such a different game now. And I heard, I think I mentioned this too before, Paul O'Neill once say, and I agree with him, the beauty of baseball is when it's played between the lines. And I think he's absolutely right. And he goes, it's not played between the lines anymore. It's all home runs and strikeouts. And I think he's right. And as an old school guy, I don't like that part of the game. I like the hit and run, stealing bases, forcing the opponents to throw to the extra base, take the extra base. If you're out, but that's okay. Make that player force him to make that play. And I love that about baseball. I think it's a great game. I could watch baseball forever, and I do in the summertime when the Yankees are playing. But there's no question. It's a good move for them. It'll put people in the stands and that sort of thing. But they need to concentrate on pitching too. I mean, they need to get some pitchers. But having him and Judge in the middle lineup, I mean, Greg Bird at first base, woo! I mean, you got hitters all around. Maybe if you can teach the catcher to catch the ball some, that'd be nice.
Yep, Gary Sanchez.
You can find out somebody who can catch. But in any case, big news. I like it. The Aaron Boone situation, I think it says, okay, let's wait and see. Someone said last night on TV, of course it was ESPN, what a great move. Well, how do you know it's a great move until he manages? We don't know how good a manager he'll be. Let's see how it goes. So, it's a long way of saying I'm conflicted, but and I guess if you like it, I like it because he'll hit home runs and he'll put people in the stands and hopefully they'll win more games. That's the bottom line. If they win more games, I love it.
Well, I think we'll hear a lot of "it is long, it is far."
Yeah.
I think we'll hear a bunch of those, and I'm never short on that because I love
something that rhymes with Stanton.
You
too,
guys
right?
are lucky that you don't have to listen to the radio calls, every day when we didn't have. When our internet went down here, we had John Sterling and Susie Waldman all the time. I had to listen to the radio, and his home run calls are hysterical. I love his home run calls. But the rest of the commentary,
No.
it's not Primero stuff. It can be tough to listen to. I'd rather watch them with the sound down.
Hey, Clark, thanks so much for joining us here today. We always appreciate the time, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
You got it, guys. Thank you.
That is Clark Judge, the Talk of Fame Network. And as you heard from Clark, who's obviously a Montreal Canadian fan as well. And because Nick Foles to me became Knowles somehow in that. I don't know.
Well, that's okay.
I was like,
it rhymes.
I'm still, blood is still coming out of my eyes after the drive in.
That is
so,
true.
but yeah, it is long. It is far.
Bingo. Just to wrap up some NFL stuff, because I know we got a lot of other stuff to get to before we head off back into the traffic, which is going to be fantastic. NFL Network has suspended Marshall Faulk, Ike Taylor, Heath Evans for sexual misconduct. So there's an investigation pending.
Oh my God.
Those three are officially off the air as we speak, and you'll hear more and more about this on social media. And be sure to weed out the good and the bad because you know what's out there on social media. But those three, it is confirmed. There is a number of reliable sources, and it is under investigation as we speak.
Just it never seems to end, and I think the consensus would be then I would think from most women is like, well, this is the time where guys who have been for more or less either inappropriate is one word, but I think probably predatory, Dave, towards sometimes it's our wives or our sisters or our daughters. I think no one really is feeling sorry for any of these guys.
Nope. And you know what? Hate to say it, but more to come. That's the reality of it.
And it's not so much about learning a lesson because what I'm finding is it's just women who realize that it's okay to come out and talk about things and guys who have been that way. It's, what are you going back a year or 2 years or whatever it is? So we're not talking about, after Harvey Weinstein, like he was going to be the only guy.
Yeah.
I just, one after the other. And I think there's a part of me sometimes that thinks, okay, well, maybe someone's pointing the finger just because it becomes like a Salem witch hunt. Well, so far, that really has not been the case. In all honesty, it seems like these guys have been 100% guilty, which makes it even sadder. But once again, is it sad? Or is it right that some of these guys who have been, on the douchebag side of the fence, who have made these women feel bad, damaged self-esteem, maybe had them change careers, or much worse, are being called on the carpet? And I don't think anyone's going to shed any tears, Dave.
Yeah, that's well said. And, we'll hear more about this. But right now, that's official. And we'll find out what exactly happens.
I think also, that conversation with Clark, because he's such an interesting guy, not afraid to say actually how he feels. But in talking about Aaron Rodgers, like, you tell me that, of all the games that you can watch, if Aaron Rodgers comes back against a Carolina team where all of a sudden, a lot of people starting to kind of get on side with what Cam Newton has done this year and so far in some of the games, because quite honestly, in the first half of that season, Dave, wasn't really quite sure if Carolina seemed to be that interested in beating some of the teams. I'm not missing that game.
No,
I'm not missing that game.
That's going to be one of our games of the week for sure. And you can't help, like, the Packers have not actually come out and said it, but the guy travels with the team and in warm-ups throws 40-yard passes. How could you not be ready?
Well, and look, he is one of the biggest competitors on the planet. If he thinks he's able to play, he's playing.
Yep.
And does that give them a chance? Well, that is their only chance, because Hundley is not going to give them that chance. And you know what? I've always liked the guys act. Sometimes people don't like it when there's a little bit of bravado or, sometimes the slogans that he's coming out with, when they have to run the board. But, God, if it wasn't for people like that, Dave, our business would be just so dry. Think about generally what, the NFL is going to have some characters where they're going to talk about some stuff. NBA is filled full of it. The NHL has almost zero. Mm-hmm. Who do we really think is going to say something that really is either controversial, crosses a line, can be related to smack talk? It's very rare.
It's very rare, and when it happens, everybody perks up like something just went wrong, or because you used to get the occasional comment from a Chris Chilios, a Brett Hall, a Jeremy Roenick, guys like that.
Look how far back you got to go.
And yeah, that's quite some time. So
I think Kadri, by just not having that edit button, would sometimes say stuff. I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure you probably shouldn't be saying some of the things you are, but God bless him for it. But guess what? Do you hear anything from Kadri anymore?
No.
He's gone through the Lou School.
The Lou School of journalism, exactly.
And so now, no talkie-talkie.
Nope.
So, again, coming up. Okay, here's who has to learn no talkie-talkie. I just mentioned those that I'm always interested because it's somewhat controversial. It might be perceived as entertaining. When it comes to the Ball family, they have none of that. And maybe I shouldn't even see they. Maybe I should talk about who it's coming from.
Yeah, it's a one guy.
It's the father. And so now he's come up with something. And generally I thought, should I even play it? Because I'm irritated by everything he does. Even the expression on his face bothers me.
Yep.
But now he's taking these two boys. And so now you're collegiately out of the game. So what has he done? Well, courtesy of, I suppose, NBA and NBA media properties and SportsCenter, LeVar Ball has come up with something really great.
And LaMelo have signed with an agent. What's the plan for them now?
We're trying to get to the Lakers as quick as possible, and we can't be sitting around doing nothing. So how about we go somewhere, I don't care where it is, and play. I don't care. We're playing Africa. We're playing on the moon.
What can you tell us about where the Ball brothers are going?
They've signed a one-year deal at Prienu Vitotas, but they should get a chance to play together if they do play over there. And
okay, and there's the other that is the other caveat. Remember, it's Lithuania, which happens to be basketball centric.
Yes,
they're freaks for the game itself, and they produce a pretty high level of basketball players. So
at the world level, yes.
So if you think for 1 second that he has all of a sudden picked a place where, like, oh, well, they'll play for sure. I don't know about that. I don't know. You may have put them in a situation where, because they're never going to achieve a certain level, because they're not going to be coached by some of the highest collegiate guys that we have in North America, they may go over there and find out. Just talk to Valanciunas. He started at 16, by the way. I think he was around the same age. But you've got to be able to play that style of ball. I think those kids are destined, because of this move, to play in Europe forever. And if they do play in Europe, don't think they're going to be star number 1 and number 2. I don't know how much playing time they actually get. And when they do, they're going to find out the hard way, Dave. Playing against pros is not playing against, like, high school or one-and-dones in NCAA basketball. This move might have sealed their fate because guess what? It's a lot harder over there than people might think.
It is. It really is. And they treat that just like we treat our professional leagues here. And the other thing, too, is a lot of times, not to stereotype, but a lot of times in some countries, when the import, which is basically considered anybody from North America or anywhere outside of that country that you're living in, doesn't get the same opportunities as the guy that is part of the country, the export, the guy that's there already. It's they don't get that same standard. So I'm not going to say they're going to get cut, but you might be looking at 2 bench players. That's what
I think is going to happen. I totally think that's going to happen there because they're not learning. They won't learn simply because I don't know if they're good enough to make the floor.
Like my prediction is they go over to Lithuania, and within I'm going to say 45 days. Big Mouth is going to pull him out because they're not getting playing time or something's not right or he doesn't like the coach or whatever it is.
We have to get ready. Why are you talking about getting ready for the Lakers? Why do you think the Lakers are going to be thrilled to have that?
The Lakers don't need any more bench players. They got plenty of them.
Just like UCLA is going, good.
Yes.
Thanks for the gift of not dealing with that.
Seriously.
Of course. I mean, there's no way. I mean, okay, so let's go from the douchebag story to one that's actually pretty good. So Kevin Durant, and once again, this is property of the National Basketball Association and its media properties and Sports Center. But Kevin Durant did something last night, and you're going to watch just a little bit. Once again, if you're watching on YouTube or if you hopefully subscribe, so you're getting, I see that people are getting the free Blade tape and, of course, the limited edition Raw Mike Richards Blade tape as well. They're throwing it in, and it's all free if you've subscribed to the website, not just the channel, not the YouTube channel. You've got to subscribe to the website, rawmikeRichards.com. This is a nice story where he signed some sneakers. The reaction of the kid is that's where it's priceless.
A cool moment here. Takes off the sneaks, signs them for the kid, and you don't get a great look at it, but the kid is in tears. That's awesome, man. Remember when you had heroes, like legitimate heroes? Did they ever give you their shoes? Probably not.
That is
wow.
That's a great moment. And for Kevin Durant, and I know a lot of people aren't his bandwagon either necessarily all the time, but give up the moment when the moment is there. And for Kevin Durant and to see that reaction from the kid, oh my God, that was great.
Yeah, really good. You got to see more of that. You don't get tired of seeing. You always remember your first encounter, and I'll never forget. And this was so small, but I'll never forget. Being taken to an Edmonton Oilers practice, and the Oilers were in Winnipeg. The Jets were on the ice beforehand. It was a closed practice at the time. It wasn't a game day skate. So, and a friend of mine was his dad was friends with an assistant coach on the Oilers, so they allowed us in. So what I got out of that was a Paul Coffey stick and an autographed pennant of the I'm going to say 84 Oilers. So that's Curry, Gretzky, Fuhr, Messier, Anderson, Huddy, Foligno, Fogelin, I should say.
Yeah.
Like it was the team. Andy Moog.
Yeah.
It was like, wow. And I'll never forget that. Never, ever forget that. But that's awesome. A pair of shoes like that will be in the kid's life for his life.
For his life. He goes to the grave with that.
Yes.
That memory.
That's exactly it.
As we all do with the great memories. Here's something else that I never get tired of seeing. Thanks to the magic of the Junior Christian Science Bible Hour. That's the one that had the weird black doll.
Okay.
Where he.
Oh, those are yeah.
The same guy does the whole voice.
We got some great feedback on that.
I don't know what is.
Open invitation, by the way, to come on the show if you're listening.
I think they probably all passed on. This is, by the way, serious. This is not a joke. This was legitimately put on by these people, and they thought it was good. In this particular segment, you're going to see a guy playing a guitar who doesn't know how to play the guitar and is just singing. It's the equivalent of Will Ferrell in Elf when he starts saying, I'm singing a song. This is how bad it is. And then it gets into that weird Junior Christian Science world where the black doll comes on with somehow, I believe it's a panda. It's a panda and what appears to be a prostitute.
Okay.
Yes, I'm so happy to be Christian. So happy to be.
Are you serious?
Christian. I'm happy to be.
Those aren't chords.
Child.
Come on. Come on. Here it comes.
This is the Junior Christian Science Bible Lesson Show where all are accepted and none are rejected. We're so blessed by the Almighty God that we have the
By the way, in the credits, they list this as Black Boy.
We also have the talented Connie Hoffman all the way from Germany with us. Yeah. And
that's not a prostitute.
Information to teach kids to say no to drugs. Connie?
That's what she's teaching the kids.
To teach kids to say no to drugs?
Ja, würde ich sagen. Auf jeden Fall würde ich sagen, dass es nicht gut ist, Drogen zu nehmen. Es ist eine Droge, die nicht auf jeden Fall einen Gewinner macht.
Sure, this is great.
Verlierer sein.
What a message for the
Würde
kids.
ich sagen, sage Nein zu Drogen.
Well, Donka show. Thank you, Connie.
Donka what?
Okay, Eddie, do you have an affirmation to teach
Okay, it'll be the same voice.
drugs?
I want all the kids out there to say no. Say no to drugs there. Don't do the drugs there.
Such as cocaine,
Good
pot,
message.
heroin, all that bad stuff.
Yeah.
It's all bad.
God is
It's all bad. The prostitute. When do I get paid for this? Am I with the bear or the black doll? Do I make love to black doll now? Merry Christmas. Ooh. Junior Christian Science. It's the show that just keeps on giving. There's your gift right there.
That's awesome.
Speaking of the gift, very often we show these retro these retro hockey moments, and we talk about sometimes missing Maple Leaf Gardens. Now this is I think 19 is it 80? The Streaker. The Streaker comes on, and just the look of it's the St. Louis Blues. Now get a load of some of the names too. So this is once again Mike Palmetier in goal.
Yep.
And they're the plays. Did they talk about having the coach Red Berenson during intermission? But this is classic Maple Leaf Gardens, and the ovation that the Streaker gets. Only in Toronto at this time would a Streaker get a bigger ovation than the actual team.
Goes over to the fireboard. There's a drive right in front. Sure comes up and grabs.
Oh no, sorry, that's Yuri Surratt playing goal.
And even 6 minutes to play.
The one save he made.
Blues in front 3-1. And a reminder to stay tuned for overtime right after the hockey game with our guest tonight, St. Louis Blues.
I think that's Brian McFarland.
Berenson took over this club in December, has done a fine job. And for British Columbia viewers, stay tuned for News Hour immediately following the hockey game.
Here comes.
Oh my gosh, well, we're not going to show you that. We got a Streaker on the ice.
Yeah, show it. Listen to the crowd. Loudest it's been. Louder than for the game.
At Maple Leaf Gardens. And the police are out there.
The players are laughing.
Cover 'em up. Well, you saw the end of it, folks, if you don't mind me using that word.
The crowd.
A Streaker jumped onto the ice and stunned everybody.
Look at Harold. Look at Harold.
Well, not quite everybody.
And King Clancy. Unbelievable. You know, they're high-fiving each other. That's not the first time they saw nudity in the Gardens, I can tell you that. Hey, it reminds me of Saturday night with some of the ushers. King, not now.
Love those jerseys on the Maple Leafs, by the way. Bring them back.
Craziness.
80s.
Craziness. Like I said, some of the retro stuff, that's the problem. I start watching this stuff in the morning, and I get a load. Okay, so let's go to, back to the Gardens. This is almost a Montreal Canadian moment. Get a load of the names on this power play. So I think this is 1977. So this is the Mike Palmetier team. But he's facing Larry Robinson.
Yep.
Cornway, Lafleur, I mean, all the names out there. This is on the power play.
Guy Lapointe, maybe?
Lapointe was out there. Absolutely. Get a load of and, of course, Pete Mahovlich is still playing for him at this point. Nice power play to have for the Canadians back in 1977.
It goes over to Peter Mahovlich. He's got it in front. Bounces back to Lafleur. Guy Lafleur into Cournoyer. Cournoyer back to Lafleur. Lafleur over to Larry Robinson. Over for Cournoyer. And the puck is grabbed and shot down the ice by Ian Turnbull to center. Peter Mahovlich over the blue line. Dropped it back to Cournoyer. Over to Larry Robinson. Going right in on goal. And he was challenged by Palmer.
Pommy.
And the puck goes all the way down to center ice. And back to the blue line for
once again, Ken Dryden getting cold.
Sittler's penalty. 12 remaining in the first period. And there's no score in the game. Peter Mahovlich fakes the shot. Centered it right in front. Robinson to Lafleur. Into Cournoyer. And that is cleared across to the far side. Larry Robinson with the puck. Inside the blue line. Lafleur. Lafleur takes a look. Steve Shutt. Covered by Turnbull. Coming out is Cournoyer and Palmatier, and the puck is knocked over to the side. Comes back, Palmatier is there! Long shot.
Palmatier had no chance to get his stick back or get up off his knees before the Canadians scored with a high shot. They were all around that Leaf cage, and the Leafs did a remarkable job for
look
a long time.
Look at the names on those jerseys playing in that time, and that's part of that huge. 5-year run that they had?
Yeah, that was the team of the 70s, basically.
That was got to be, and the style of the hockey. Like, how do I even compare?
Yeah. Well, it's funny.
Even the equipment, Dave.
While we were watching that, Russell muttered under his breath, I'm better than these guys.
Did you say that?
I could play in this league.
Russell, do you think
That's what he said.
Do you think you're better than Guy Lafleur?
I mean,
yeah.
I don't
oh
think.
My God. Oh
I don't
my
think.
God. You even thought about it. I can't believe you did. Well, no. The answer is no.
I don't think Guy Lafleur ever played Mississauga House League. So
that's safe to say. that is safe to say. Nor did he try out, I believe.
Russell was actually out playing shinny last night in the snow. Not a word of a lie.
Yeah, were you doing a little shinny last night?
Yeah, he was doing some shinny.
Yeah, out at Regent Park.
Oh, that sounds safe.
See?
In Regent Park.
And then I said the same thing to him, and then you know what he said to me? It's not the same, Dave.
Sure.
Regent Park's a lot different.
Yeah. Find any fingers in the ice?
He says it's totally changed. He says on the way there the trip was a little different. And I'm just listening to this, and then he's like, but when you're there, it's a totally different neighborhood. I'm like, okay, well, I'll trust what you're saying, but
you get sent to the belly box for having a handgun. 2 minutes for having a handgun. Wow, that's pretty cool. But this time of year, I mean, that's my memories.
Shinny is awesome, though.
Depending on where you are in the country. Sometimes it was called pond hockey. That's what they would say in Ontario.
Yep.
I know in Alberta they talked about river hockey all the time.
Yep.
Then you'd have what was it for you?
Because
we made rinks. I was part of the family that always had a rink.
Like I was lucky because where I lived, I was literally a block away from the community club. So there was always 4 rinks at the community club, and the 2 that were closer to the front were always open. So you'd go there right after school and come home for supper and then go head back there. Or we lived in a crescent, so cars wouldn't really go in there unless you belonged to one of those 4 houses. Street hockey was
ball
a
hockey.
thing.
Huge.
Yeah, ball hockey.
Don't you think it's weird when you see those signs? No ball hockey allowed.
I want to tear them down. That's what
Who
I want
would
to
do that, though? Seriously,
no, I've seen that.
I've never understood that. Once again, reference to Hitler.
Yeah, well,
I've never. He had other issues that were probably a little more concerning.
A couple more, but you know what? Had he been in power for longer periods of time, that seems like something he may adopt.
I'll have to read Mein Kampf again. And no, as a hockey playing in the streets. Oh, you asshole! Like that's it. That was the line.
There's the line right there.
Coming up this week, by the way, also going to talk to Jimmy Domick tomorrow.
Yeah,
Toronto
tomorrow
Rock.
in studio, 10:30.
Have a lot of respect for not only what those owners do, because they don't get rich doing it. You got to love that sport. And if you've never been to a National League lacrosse game, I got to tell you, like the entertainment value for the family is probably the best bang for the buck you're going to get. It's probably, 2 hours and change. They're always cranking tunes, and these guys don't know what mailing it in is.
No.
These are a group of guys who, in crazy freak shape, they give it because it's they got a shot clock, just like if you don't know,
bingo,
like they do in basketball. They still have the offsides, but man, the skills on those guys. Now, I was in Calgary when Tracy Kolaski was just unbelievable out of Peterborough, and he's coaching now somewhere out Eastern Ontario, I want to say, because he's been in the States actually for quite a while. So we'll talk to Jamie Dowick about what they've got coming up, because I think one of the games, and maybe the game coming up, where they're taking a portion of the ticket sales and putting into one of the Gord Downey charitable funds.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, one of the foundations.
We'll definitely find more about that. Yeah, we'll ask them about that. And the season's right around the corner, right? They're going to...
It's very close, yeah.
They're here, and they're ready to go. Also on Friday, we'll have two ladies in from the Shopping Channel to talk about Christmas gifts for that significant other in your life. So... not sure what to get that special someone. Well, they'll give you some ideas, because a lot of times... holiday season for the guys, you're kind of sitting there going, okay, what do I get? I've only been dating her for a while. Or what do I get? I've been married to her for 15 years. What do I get? I'm not sure. They'll help you with that, because and they'll also recommend getting out before the 24th of December to actually buy it.
Well, let's there's the Christmas music for that.
There you go.
What should I get my wife?
What would Barbara Walters suggest if Barbara Walters was asked that question?
If I was thinking about Christmas, what would I get the woman I love? How about a nice glass of Shut the Hell Up?
Do they serve that at the LCBO?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What, do you ever draw names, by the way, like amongst family members or brothers, sisters?
Have in the past.
Yeah.
Have in the past, but... in Winnipeg, there was only like the 7-8 of us, so it wasn't no name drawing. But here, when there's 50, 55 people, we have, yes.
We'll have to get your brother Mike a Doug Gilmore jersey, I think. Get him to sign something very special for your brother.
I was trying to get him a picture. I was hoping Killer would join us in the studio, because I had a couple ideas.
We can make that happen. What are you hoping for, really, Russell? What is a Russell Graham Christmas? What are you looking for? Playboys, Penthouse, Biggins,
clothes, I guess, mostly.
Clothes?
Yeah.
Really? Because I felt ripped off when I got clothes. Not a Star Wars thing?
No.
Clothes are expensive, so
Darth Vader
nice
onesie
when other people get them.
No. What about Austin Matthews? What's the status on that? Do we know? Because that's going to be upsetting for you.
Philadelphia tonight.
No Christmas there.
No, I know.
Haven't seen any updates yet. I looked this morning when I got here.
Are you nervous?
A little bit,
Yeah.
but I'd rather him...
Do you have the shakes?
No shakes yet.
No tears last night thinking about it?
Not yet,
okay.
no.
Just making sure.
Further it goes on, it might happen, but...
That's fine.
Is your mom here like, Russell, are you all right?
So 3-game road trip at Philadelphia. They get a space, and then they go back-to-back at Minnesota, at Detroit. How many points do they get? And don't say 7, because they could only get 6.
Yeah. Hoping for 4. Wouldn't be surprised with 3.
Interesting.
It's
3 non-playoff teams, and you only are hoping for 3. Interesting. Okay, I'm just...
It's been a rough schedule. Yeah. A lot of travel, so...
No, you're talking like you're on the team? Well, Mike, it's been a tough schedule. A lot of travel in there. We're just taking one game at a time.
Yeah, that 1 hour, 20-minute flight to Philly's a killer. It's like, oof. Oh, an hour and a half.
All of a sudden, the Flyers are winning games now.
Yeah,
after we made that crack.
What did that happen?
Yeah,
I know.
All of a sudden, they're winning.
Hey, go
games.
back to normal, Philadelphia.
Yeah.
We know you have Brian Elliott in that. That can't last.
And that wasn't very Christmassy at all.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. You heard him. It's the truth.
Just become best friends. Yep.
Oh.
You want to go do karate in the garage? Yep. It's time.
It is time, by the way. I forgot to play the Giancarlo Stanton clip.
Okay.
Where he was trying to be fair to Florida, where he was saying, well, we had certain plans. I had certain aspirations with the team. And then, how do you put it? It kind of spiraled out of control and went another way. Oh, it went another way, all right. Right into the toilet. Made our good friend Clark Judge from the Talk of Fame happy. Very pleased, and yet surprised at the same time. I guess it remains to be seen, but Judge and Stanton in the lineup,
woo-wee,
could be pretty good. Join us tomorrow. We're going to talk Toronto Rock with Jamie Dawick. Remember, subscribe. Another E-Blast going out today from Blade Tape.